If you are a military veteran or soon to be one, you may be wondering how you can find the different benefits that are available to you and whether those are medical or school or job related. We have a resource that can point you in the right direction, whether you want to learn about some of those topics online or even in person with someone who will actually talk to you and guide you through the process. Hi, I'm Terry, one of the consumer technology specialists for Mid-Continent Public Library, and let's look at VetNow. To get to our website, you want to open the browser of your choice, and then in the address bar at the top, you're going to type mymcpl.org, and that will take you to our home page. From here, you have several choices in how you might find VetNow. Just to the right of our logo, we're going to Research and Learning and click on that. Now there are two places here where you can find VetNow. The first one is to go to the A to Z list and click on that. And VetNow starts with a V, so we'll click on that. And then here we have VetNow for Veterans. And we can click on this link. It'll take us directly to that resource. Or we can come down here to where it says more about VetNow for Veterans, and we can click. When we click on this, and let me scroll just a little bit, it tells us that it's for veterans and you can get live help with a variety of services, and it includes things like navigating the VA system, finding local and even national resources for veterans and your families, preparation for civilian life. So they help you with resumes because you may have skills that work well in the military, but how that transfers to civilian life, they help you find the language to explain that. There's interview coaching and even career assessments. There are also practice tests and writing samples and a whole lot more, but the thing is there are live coaches and tutors in the afternoon. So something that you could take advantage of that would be a wonderful tool. Now let me go back, and then I'm going to return to the top. Besides the A to Z list, you could also go to the next tab to the right, Browse Subjects. Click on that, and here we have subjects of different online resources. And as I scroll down, the one that I think is probably the most obvious is government. And we can click then on where it says View Resources. And I'm going to scroll down just a little bit, and there we have VetNow. From here, you could access VetNow with no problem. Well, let me scroll back up to the top, because it may be that you will decide that just from our home page, you know or you remember that it's called VetNow, and you can simply type VetNow in the search bar and then either press enter or go to the far right of that box where we have the arrow, and you can click on the arrow. And here we have that same card of BrainFuse VetNow, Find Live Help for Veterans. And this time we're going to click on that logo and go to the online resource. Let's look at the home page first, because you could use VetNow and only use the home page. But we notice at the very top here that it has some supporting institutions that help you find the information that you need. So for example, the Missouri Secretary of State State Library and the Institute of Museum and Library Services. As we also look at this then, coming down, we can see that in the gray here, there is essentially a menu bar that has Home, Expert Help, VA Support Tools, Tools for Learners, and Job Tools. And interestingly enough, Each one of those has a drop down that matches something on this home page. You can stay on the home page and use all of the benefits, all of the resources that are available to you through VetNow. Coming down from that menu bar, we have a peek at some of the benefits that you can receive. Below that, we have live help. And so there's the live veteran navigator where you can talk about VA benefits and community resources. There's live job coaching, and there's even a resume lab where they can help you use the language to transform your military skills into civilian skills when you're ready to submit a resume. Going on down, we can see that there are tools for veterans. You can send questions or you can talk to someone about questions that you have. Tools for learners. There's live tutoring, but there's also online resources as well, and a variety of those resources. Below that, you have job tools, live resume coaching, and even maybe more important, live interview coaching. And scrolling down a little bit more, you have eParachute that helps you find careers that you would be interested in, interview tips, interview resources, etc. As we go back up to the top of this home page. Let's start with this box that just says, what subject or class can we help you with? When I click in that box, if I click search, it gives me the types of classes that may be available. As we look here, basic math, algebra, calculus, geometry, biology, chemistry, reading, writing, physics. And each one had the choice of live help or sending questions. When I click on live help, I get a notice that says tutors are available every day from 2 p.m. to 11 p.m. Central Daylight Time. We could try that algebra choice, so let's type algebra. And it narrows it down to Algebra 1 or 2, College Algebra or Pre-Algebra. And again, these are all with live help or asking questions. Below that, we have the live help, the live veteran navigator, the live job coaching, and the resume lab. Let's click on connect for the first two so that we can figure out the times for when these people will be available to talk to us. So live veteran navigator, we can connect with an expert to learn more about eligibility for VA benefits and community resources. When we click on connect, it tells us that that is available Monday through Friday, 1 p.m. to 10 p.m. Central Daylight Time. And when we come down to the live job coaching and click on connect, this is to help you transition your resume from military sounding to civilian sounding. We can click on connect, and it tells us these coaches are available from 2 to 11 p.m. Central Daylight Time. A slight variation between the live job coaching and the live veteran navigator. To the far right, we have the resume lab, and you can submit your resume and they will help you with the wording and with some of the ideas just to help you even start thinking about what a resume should look like. And you can submit your resume. Now let's click on that and see what it says. In this case, it takes us to a different place where we need to have also created an account with VetNow, and we need to have a username and a password. Since we're here, let's look at the left where it talks about the other services that are available. So live tutoring, we kind of learned about that already, writing lab, skill surfer, send a question, language lab, and flashbulb. On the right, you also have account features that you may find helpful, and we'll look at some of these as we log in with an account. But right now we know that it has information about my account, past sessions, there's a message center, test scores where you can look at your tests and work on them, and CloudPack is simply a storage place for all of the files that you create within VetNow. Let's go back. We can look at tools for veterans. Here we can send a question. Generally, send a question is for just sending it outside of the hours where you could talk to a real live person. And then there are veteran resources. Let's click on that and look at the resources that will help you understand your benefits a little bit more. So under online resources, it has nationwide resources for veterans and their families. Let me click on that link. And you'll notice that they are even subdivided into education, employment, healthcare, housing, and then miscellaneous. But I'm just going to scroll down through all of this so you can see how these are laid out. Education, we have the GI Bill, the Department of Education, Vet Success on Campus, Sentinels of Freedom Scholarship Foundation, Troops to Teachers, Federal Student Aid for Military Families, scholarship programs that are sponsored by the Fisher House Foundation and the Pat Tillman Foundation. Scrolling on down, there are employment resources here. Veterans Ascend matches skills with different jobs and employers. And then there's Silent Professionals that gives you the direct pipeline to a wide range of jobs that are available to defense and private security industry companies. Under healthcare, and there are a lot of items here, Partnership to End Addiction, National Center for PTSD, National Veterans Foundation, a resource directory, Navy Wounded Warrior Safe Harbor, health.mil, going on down, Office of Warrior Care, Defense and Veterans Brain Injury Center, TRICARE, PTSD Program Locator, Paralyzed Veterans of America, Blinded Veterans Association. For housing, VA home loans have been around a long time, but they still help people become homeowners. Homeless veterans, Wounded Warrior Homes, National Homeless Vietnam Veterans, National Coalition for Homeless Veterans, VA National Call Center for Homeless Veterans. Under miscellaneous, a lot of different kinds of resources here where we have Blue Star Families, National Military Family Association, Women Veterans Alliance, e-benefits. The Mission Continues is a fellowship program, Iraq and Afghanistan veterans, National Veterans Legal Services, Veterans Legal Institute, State Veterans Affairs, United Service Organizations, the USO, American Legion, Veterans of Foreign Wars, American Veterans, Military Order of the Purple Heart, Guide for Veteran Seniors, so the National Council for Aging Care, and VeteranAid.org. That is a huge, long list for you or members of your family to help them get the assistance and the guidance that they need. I've now moved back to the online resources page where we also have some veterans local resources. So let's click on that link, and it's now more Missouri based, but there are general sites that can also help veterans. So Missouri Benefits and Resource Portal, there's a veteran information for Missouri, Missouri Veterans Service Program, VA locations, and a crisis hotline. Going on back then, we can go down to the tools for learners. Some of the choices here involve live communication with another person. So live tutoring has to do with live online help from expert tutors. Coming on down, the language lab is also live help for language learners. The writing lab is expert online writing assistance. And then, kind of the opposite of that, if you don't want to talk to anyone, you can send a question, which leaves us with two other choices here. So let's look at those. First of all, there is Skill Surfer, and I'll click on that. And it is a learning library. We can read lessons, watch videos, take tests. Now, not all of these have tests, but any of the tests you take, those scores are recorded and made available to you in your account. Under high school, I'll just click on the plus here on the right to view the lessons. And notice that there's reading and writing and math and science and social studies and AP exam prep and high school equivalency tests. So GED if you don't have that. And then high school equivalency tests, they have training for that, preparation for how to take that test. College entrance exams and a lot of different college type classes. And then it comes down to unemployment benefits assistance, nursing school exams, praxis, computers and technology. When we view those lessons, there are all sorts of lessons, not necessarily tests, but lessons in what you can participate. Graduate school, research and presentation skills. And then as we come on down, adult learner resources and English as a second language resource as well. A lot here when it comes to the learning library and the resources that you may want to take advantage of. Going back to tools for learners, with Flashbulb, it helps you practice for tests and to learn the subject area. All sorts of different kinds of flashcards that you might find very helpful to help you learn in a class. There's a whole lot here. So let's look at super awesome multiplication facts. Let's click on that. As I look at this, we have a question that's 9 times 3. We could show the answer first if we want to. We just mentally say 27, and then we could show the answer by clicking on it, or if we click on the box, it shows the answer first, either way. And then to the right of that, it has remaining cards. So click on remaining cards to go to the next one. 4 times 4 is 16, so I click on that card and it gives me the answer, etc. And it just takes me through remaining cards. I could say, okay, I was correct. So 6 times 9 is 54. I click on that. There's the answer, correct cards, and I can move them over to the left. Coming down, though, we have all of these different ways to show the flashcards. This is the original flashcards, but there's a no flip flash. Now we just have the question and the answer is right below. There is a study table where you have the question and then you can show the answer. We have matching. There's a type in, so they ask the questions and you can put in the answers. There's a quiz, so these are kind of multiple guess here. There's also a test. I have to put in an ABC and match. Going on down, snowman. Now, snowman is the opposite of hangman. With hangman, you always adding things to the person. With snowman, it's the opposite. You have a whole snowman, and now you have to give the correct answers or things start falling off of him. You can export, so you can download this information to your computer or cell phone. You can print it, or you can do some editing. That is quite a lot, but it should really help with learning keywords and different concepts in a class. The last section of the home page is job tools. 2 of the first items our live coaching here with resumes and live interview coaching as well. And there is unemployment assistance, so they give you assistance with completing unemployment benefits forms. When we click on that, it says that we can get live help, and let me click on that Get Live Help for a second, because that time is slightly different. It is 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. Central Daylight Time. So something to keep in mind, but there are also online resources about unemployment benefits, and it takes you to the unemployment benefits assistance portion of, as I scroll up, the learning library that we already saw. And let me go back. Going down from unemployment assistance, there are job resources, ways to begin your job search, and it takes you to nationwide resources and local resources that we've already seen. Skills First is a resume creation software, and to use it, you need to have your account and to log in with your username and password. Let's close that and go back to interview resources, so we can click on that. And there are some links here: pathway to interview success, interview tips, 100 potential interview questions by Monster, which might be very helpful, and how to dress for an interview. So some interview basics. On the right-hand side, eParachute tries to match your skills with careers that use those skills. And again, to do that, you need to have your username and password and log in. Below that, resume templates and resources. And this has all sorts of different kinds of resume templates, and then interview tips, which we probably already saw earlier. But here are some tips and some questions and some do's and don'ts of interviewing. And that is the home page. I've now moved back to the top, and let's look at the menu bar here in a little more detail. And the first choice is Expert Help. And as I rest my mouse on that drop down, you can see that you have Live Veteran Navigator, Live Job Coaching, and Resume Lab, which is exactly the same as what we see here going across the home page. From there, let's look at VA support tools, and it's Send a Question or Veteran Resources. Well, that corresponds with Tools for Veterans, Send Question, or Veteran Resources. Coming farther across on that menu bar then, Tools for Learners, where we have Live Tutoring, Writing Lab, Skill Surfer, Send Question, Language Lab, Flashbulb. As I come down from that menu item and we go to Tools for Learners, it's exactly the same thing as what we've already looked at right here. And going back to our menu bar, as we look at job tools, we can see Live Resume, Live Interview Coaching, eParachute, Skills First, Interview Tips, Interview Resources, and again, those job tools, when I come down, are precisely the same thing as what we see on the home page at the bottom. And we've looked at most of those as well. Let's come over to the far right of that gray menu bar to where it says My Account, and when I rest my mouse on it, it says My Account, My Past Sessions, and some other things that we have looked at. But how do I create an account? What's required of me, and then what does that mean? If you don't have an account, you can certainly sign up for one. Registration is free and easy, but you do need to create a username and a password, and it even tells you what's required for that password, and then a password hint of some kind, and then what the answer is, and then when you click on Next, you are logged in to this account. From then on, if you want to use your account and find, say, the test results that you have received, or if you want to use some of the other options that are specific only to your account, then you will sign in with your username and your password. I have clicked on my account, and because I wasn't logged in, it brought me to this welcome screen where now I can put in my username and my password. And then I can log in. Notice that there is a forgot your password if you forget. And here is also where, if you don't have a username or password, you could sign up. Well, we'll click on login. And the very first thing it does is give you a way to download this app and install it on your mobile device, your phone or your tablet. Over at the right, it talks about my account, my past sessions. Let's click on that for a second. Oh, no sessions. Message center, I don't believe I've actually messaged anyone. My tests. Now, I did take a test the other day, and I didn't even really try to give correct answers. I just put some answer down so I would have a test result. And so you can see that it says, okay, here's the test, here's when you took it, here's your SAD score, and do you want to retake that test so you'll feel better about yourself? And it keeps track of all of those tests. The test center is actually Skill Surfer. When you look at the My Tests, you will also notice that the learning account features have changed. There is also a new item here, My Brainwaves. I recorded a brainwave yesterday that could edit or play. I could send it to somebody or I could trash it. Well, I'm going to delete it. And then I'm going to say okay, but I could create a brainwave. And this is just kind of fun. You begin recording. It has a notepad. It has all sorts of note-taking tools. And you can, once you have those note-taking tools, you can share these files with other people. So we can begin recording. Starting at the top, and you can see on the right that I am recording, and it's blinking even. On the left, I have a little color wheel so I can pick a color of some kind. I have undo and redo. I can, in fact, clear the whiteboard if I want to do that. These little dots are the size of my writing tool. So now that I've picked a color and I have a writing tool, I can write if I need to. On the left-hand side, I have a freehand draw, which is what I used. This is also an edit tool. This is a text tool, so I could type. And as I started typing, notice that the toolbar on the top changed. So I have superscript and subscript. I can change the font. I could make a copy and then paste it someplace. Besides that, I have math equations. I can click anywhere on the board to add my equation. Let's put 2 plus 3. When I finish that, I can click on the check mark, and here is 2 plus 3. I have a graphing calculator. I can draw shapes. Well, let me draw shapes. Let's just do a square. I can also draw a line if I want to do that. And notice that most of these also have a keyboard shortcut. The next tool is an eraser, so I could maybe erase part of my squiggle. And then down at the bottom, I even have a snap and send, so I could take a picture. This whole time I have been recording. Down at the bottom right, I could call this something like test, and I could send it. But before I do that, I think I better stop recording. So I can describe this, what it's all about, and then I can use this description to find it, and then also to share with others who are also on Brainwave if I decide to do that. And I'm just going to, in the upper right, save. And now I have this brainwave, and I can close. So this is one of the nice tools that is not just apparent by using VetNow. Down from my test, you have my calendar. So if I had appointments, for example, I want to set up a schedule and meet with a live person, and I could set up a calendar. Notice that this little menu adjusts as I go from item to item. And then my cloud pack is simply where I can store information that I have created with my account. And those are all of the tools under my account. So above my name, I'm going to click on Log Out, and it takes me back to the home page of VetNow for Veterans. We premiere new videos every Wednesday and Friday at 1 o'clock. If you miss a video premiere, you'll still be able to find it later when it's convenient for you. You can find us on Facebook at MCPL 360, and you can find us on YouTube by going to our MCPL MO channel.